Good morning. The committee will come to order. It's great to welcome our witnesses today. I'm particularly grateful that two of our colleagues from the Senate will start us off with some observations they have about this critically important issue. Also, I'm glad that my fellow Missourian Scott Leiendecker is here, and I had a chance to learn more about his growing company in this area a few weeks ago, and look forward to his testimony as I do the testimony of all the others. This is the second in a series of hearings on election security. As we know, during the 2016 election cycle, state and local officials were tested like they had not been tested before, and even after the election were more aware of the threats that were out there and their need to have better information about those threats and more help as to how to deal with them. At our last hearing, the local officials told us that they needed timely and actionable information. They needed cybersecurity resources as well as technical assistance. Today, we turn to the federal officials who are in charge of helping provide that kind of assistance and looking at how they can better provide those resources, as well as private sector election vendors. Efforts to secure American elections are not new. Following the 2000 election, the 2002 Help America Vote Act established the United States Election Assistance Commission to assist states in replacing voting systems and improving election administration. HAVA, as that bill was called, also created a partnership between the Election Assistance Commission and the National Institute of Standards and Technology to create guidance for voting systems and to certify those voting systems. In January of 2017, the Department of Homeland Security designated, after the election year had passed, election infrastructure as critical infrastructure. So we're now in the first election series since that designation was made. At our last hearing, we heard how this designation would affect information sharing between state, local, and federal governments. Today, we want to look forward to hearing more about the other aspects of that designation, which is the formalization of information sharing and collaboration between private entities and the federal government through the Sector Coordinating Council. More recently, the FY 2018 spending bill, Congress appropriated $380 million to the U.S. Election Assistance Agency to help states enhance their election infrastructure. About 49 states and territories have already requested approximately $350 million of that money, and in many cases, they've already received the money they've asked for. Some of our goals today are find out more about the tools that are available that the federal government can provide state and local officials, find out about information sharing that is occurring and should occur between state, federal, and local election officials, and learn more about what we might do to encourage cybersecurity best practices. We're also pleased to have, again, Senator Wyden and Senator Langford here, but before I turn to them, I'll turn to Senator Klobuchar for any opening remarks she wants to make. Mr. Leiendecker, how many, you provide the iPad poll book in how many states?
Currently, we have PollPad, which is the iPad-based solution. We are in 25 states, 600 jurisdictions nationwide.
And in Canada?
Canada just recently acquired our solution. We actually, just so you know, and I think this is some good information, we went through the Ministry of Defense. They did an audit on our solution. The results were just released yesterday, and there was 0 vulnerabilities in our source code, which was nice to see.
Could we get a copy of that
as soon as I get a copy of it, I could provide that for you.
Good.
Yes,
and I think Senator Klobuchar would want to know this. You're now transitioning a number of Minnesota counties, is that right?
A number of Minnesota counties. We've been working with Secretary Simon, and in Hennepin County, they've been using our product for about 2 years now, close to 2 years. And I think in the primary elections coming up in August 15th or 16th, I believe, we will be full force.
14th.
14th.
Not that I would know that.
I will be there, and a number of us will also be there, but we have about 50 counties that will be moving towards that solution.
And how many voters do you think were included in the registration material you were managing in the last election cycle in 2016?
2016,
This is just an estimate on.
it would be several million.
Where I'm really going here is this question of how many people try to get into these systems. And what do you do to determine the vulnerability of the systems that your company works with?
There's a number of things that we do. From our knowledge, nobody tried to, tamper with our product. One of the nice things about using the iPad is the baked-in security that is already offered. And that's one of the things that, I really liked about the solution whenever I was a former director in St. Louis, looking at the different solutions available to me. The baked-in security is a big thing, so I don't have to be a security expert. I'm leveraging, what is the Apple iPad, which is secured by, NIST has all the bells and whistles that NIST offers, the FIPS 140-2, all of that. So we leverage security from, security experts. We're not trying to be security experts, at our organization, although we do have individuals that are security experts on staff. That's a big part of it, is leveraging the right type of hardware and software. The other things that we do is obviously encrypt everything, from on the iPad to anything that is in transit is encrypted. So that's a big part of what we try to do to make sure that we're responsible and thoughtful throughout the process with regards to security.
And does anybody in your organization try to find the weaknesses in any system that you're trying to manage?
Absolutely. After we get done, testing applications such as the one in Minnesota that we just got finished with a few months ago, it goes through a number of tests. Whether it's internal, that's the first, course where we go through and do our own testing. And then ultimately we send it through penetration tests. And that's a big thing that we've been doing since day one. This wasn't something that, we just decided to do because, the Russians decided to try to, meddle in our elections process, this past election. This is something that we did from day one to make sure that we were being responsible to our clients. Our clients are provided that information, once those penetration tests are done, especially before, major elections. But we've actually started to do more penetration tests throughout the year, just because we know that it's important. It's something that's on everybody's mind. So we want to be responsible and thoughtful for the process.
So if somebody was monitoring people trying to get into their voter registration system, part of that could be a legitimate effort on your part to see if it was possible to get in.
We don't deal directly with the voter registration system. We are just kind of I would say the poll book, the paper poll book we take.
So what would your penetration effort be?
The only concern that I could see is there are jurisdictions that do like to connect these devices in like a vote center scenario where the information can move from one area to the other, to one polling location to the other, to make sure that that individual is checked off of the list. Now, the application is local, and it's up to the jurisdiction to choose if they so do want to do that. But that would be the only way. But again, all of that data is encrypted.
Okay, thank you. Senator Klobuchar.